Hi, you're listening to After Dinner Conversations, short stories for long discussions. What that means is we get short stories, we select those short stories, and then we discuss them specifically about the ethics and the morality of the choices the characters and the situations put us in. Why did you do this? What makes you do this? What makes us good people? What's the nature of truth, goodness, all of that sort of stuff. And hopefully we're all better, smarter people for it and learn a little bit about why we think the way we think. So thank you for listening.
Okay, as promised, we're back again, this time with Step Back. Well, you think as many times I've done this, I have my order right. You're listening to After Dinner Conversation. I'm your co-host, Colby, here with Jeremy.
Hello.
And Sarah.
Hi there.
Apparently, you'd think after like 55 episodes or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, I got this down. But the answer is no, I really don't. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Patreon, on Amazon. Go to our website, afterdinnerconversation.com. More importantly, get our magazine. That's $1.95 a month or $4.95 a year if you use the discount code HAPPY at checkout. Okay, now, got that out of the way. The story is Step Back by Henry McFarland. I did the last one. Do you want to discuss this? Or you want me to just keep doing these?
No, go ahead.
All right, you guys are going to keep letting me roll through these. No worries. I like being the center of attention. Who doesn't?
I'm definitely not as good as the summarizing.
Okay.
At the summarizing. So
I've had a lot of practice over the years. Okay, so story: a husband and wife go to the doctor. They find out that she is pregnant. Beth, I believe, is her name. Beth and Bob, the most boringest names ever. Find out that Beth is pregnant in the future, and the doctor says, great, we'll take the baby out, we'll put it in an incubation chamber. That's the way all pregnancies are done now in the future. It's safer. We can screen for genetic defects. We can sort of, genetically modify your kid if you want to do that. And it's just the way it's done now. It's the safe way, right? And she's like, no, I don't want, that's my imitation of Beth. No, I don't want to do it. I want to carry the baby. I want it to be a natural childbirth. I want the experience of it. And the husband, Bob, is like, yeah, that's my wife. I love her. Sure, it's cool. And so she is, they send her to a specialist because there are very few people anymore who do natural childbirths where you carry the child yourself. They get the doctor. The doctor is got her through all the stuff, walking her through it all. And she's kind of ridiculed or mocked by people for putting the baby and putting herself at risk and not utilizing technology. In the process of this, she meets her neighbor. I can't remember the neighbor's name off the top of my head. Selena?
It's Sandy.
Sandy, thank you. I knew it was an S. And Sandy and her become friends because Sandy works at home 4 days a week. And so Sandy comes over from time to time, while her husband goes off to work, which he now has to because Beth was fired from her job for being pregnant, because in the future, you don't have to carry a baby, so there aren't really pregnancy support laws anymore. I'm not sure there are in America anyway right now. Are there, Sarah? Do you know?
There are.
Okay, yeah. You can't fire someone for being pregnant in America?
No, you can't.
Okay. That surprises me. I feel like even in America, it's possible. That's good.
It is totally possible.
Yeah. At any rate, so she got fired from her job. So she's at home all the time. She befriends the neighbor. And they find out that the neighbor is and I thought this was super clever, a neo-Quaker? Neo-Shaker. Neo-Shaker. Shakers no longer, I had to research this. I looked it up, dude. Shakers no longer exist because they believe that sexual intercourse is a sin. And so they converted, Shakerism began, and because they believe that sexual intercourse is a sin, they died out. So
they stopped having babies.
Right, they stopped having babies, which means there are no Shakers left in the world, in real life. So these people are what are called neo-Shakers, who do exist because the way they have children is by having non-sexual reproduction. And so they basically took an egg and they took a sperm, and they made the baby in the chamber. And in that process, they wanted to deny the temptation of their daughter as neo-Shakers. And so they made their daughter have no
asexual.
No sexual organs, right? Asexual. Thank you, Jeremy. And the sort of the slang derogatory term for it is a neuter, I guess is what they'd call him in the future.
Yeah.
And everyone's cool with everybody. The three of them are all cool. Except towards the end of it, the end of the pregnancy, there is a complication with the pregnancy. They rush her to the hospital, and she dies in the hospital, but the baby, because it's so far along, is saved. So now it's a single dad with the baby. He has guilt about maybe he should have talked to his wife out of carrying the baby, blah, 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 but it's whatever. It's under the bridge now. So he's now a single dad. He now befriends the neighbor who's asexual, who we find out is in the process of having gender assignment, as opposed to like what we think of today as gender
reassignment.
Right, gender reassignment, where someone born with male organs chooses to become female, a female to male. In this case, she's getting it for the first time, so she or they are becoming she as a gender assignment, which is apparently in this story both painful and dangerous, and sometimes there are side effects, and sometimes people die doing it. Rarely, but it can happen. And so the husband, now a widow, is sort of a budding relationship with this woman who's asexual. He tries to talk her out of it because he already lost his wife and he doesn't want to lose someone else that he loves. And then the end of the story is her basically saying, like, I need to be a woman. I am a woman. I need the sexual organs of a woman. I need to be able to have sex like a woman. And he just is like, yeah, I support you. I don't like it, but I support you. And then I think it sort of leaves us with the assumption that they are going to, assuming they're
have a relationship after,
right? Have a relationship after it's successful. Did I leave anything out? I think I got most of it.
Yeah, most of the big parts.
It's a longer story. It's like 4,000 or 5,000 words. It's definitely a fully formed sort of story. Okay, so I've done a bunch of talking. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought of it. Likes, dislikes, interesting questions, whatever.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the story. I like the questions it asks, and it asks them in an interesting way for kind of where we're at now with how our society is struggling with gender reassignment and gender identity.
What do you mean?
How our society is struggling with gender identity. So it asks that.
I mean, what do you mean by the struggle of it?
Well, the struggle in our society, where some people are like, no, you're born with a gender, stick with it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where half of our society is still, no, you're born with a gender, use the bathroom you're assigned.
Right.
And the gender you're assigned at birth. And the other half of the society seems to be very supportive of, yes, your gender identity is your gender identity.
Which is not related to your gender biology.
Right. And
it'd
so
be
it asks these questions, in an interesting way, separated from what's going on, but in a futuristic science fiction sense of, these other aspects of gender identity. If you really can even go from asexual because this is what you were assigned at birth to assigning a gender, including sex organs, through surgery.
Yeah. I wonder what one of those people would say about somebody who believes that gender biology is identical to gender identity, right? That if you're born with female body parts, you are female. What they would say about someone who was born with no sexual organs. Would they say,
yes,
no, you were born that way. Like, you got to live it up.
Right. There are natural occurring cases of people being born with no sex organs, being asexual. So,
really?
And
I've heard of both sex organs. I've never heard of neither.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, it is. They are asexual, and I don't remember how they're assigned. I think they basically do get to choose what gender identity they have on their ID.
Okay.
I don't know. It'd be something interesting to research.
It would be,
how do we deal with that, and how often does that happen?
Yeah. Huh. Sarah, thoughts? You look very thoughtful on this one.
Oh, I think I got more caught up in the pregnancy part of it.
Sure. Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that too.
well, I think that's one of the interesting things about this story is it it has sort of two mirroring questions, right? The one about like you were born this way for the asexual person, but you weren't naturally born this way. But you could have been naturally born this way. So do you get the right to undo? Do you get the right to do that to somebody? But then do you get the right to undo what someone did to you the way you were born? But then there's the mirroring question of where it's like the flip, right? Where the norm is to have medicine take care of it. And so in one story, the medical procedure is the norm and she's trying to deny it. And in the other side of the story, the medical procedure is the exception and she's trying to undo it, right? So it's like one is A to B and the other one's B to A.
Right. No, and again, it's a very interesting way, or it's a good way in the story to present both of those arguments.
Yeah, and I felt like the gender assignment surgery was very easy for me to accept. Of course, Sandy has the right to choose what she wants, how she wants to live her life.
Sure.
How she wants her body to be. So
that
was easy for me to buy, and so I didn't spend a lot of time really wrestling with it. I think the pregnancy one was a lot tougher.
But wouldn't that same logic then equally apply to the pregnancy?
The pregnancy.
Like if a person can say...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she absolutely had the right to say that she wanted to carry the baby. The fact that it made her weird is sad. The society that this author has kind of proposed and created is one where we choose every detail of our child's personality and appearance. That is an interest. Like, would you and should you? That was a much harder question for me to answer as I was reading through the story. But being pregnant, so I was pregnant twice and I hated it both times. I would absolutely choose to have my children incubated outside of my body because it was just hard. It was very difficult for me. I didn't like it. But I do know women for whom pregnancy is a glorious time. They feel like they've never looked better or felt better. And for them, they should absolutely... If pregnancy is that easy and that wonderful for you, you should absolutely be able to experience that.
And choose that.
And there are things about being pregnant, like feeling the baby kick. You know, that's pretty cool, but it does get old. 9 months of that is a long time, and it's very painful, and childbirth is dangerous. And I remember with my second being really scared that something would happen to me, and I would be leaving behind my daughter as well as my son. You know, so it felt... Yeah, my second pregnancy was filled with a lot of anxiety over something bad happening. So, you know, I can totally see wanting to erase those risks as far as having a child. But I totally see Beth's perspective with wanting to have that baby grow inside of her.
Do you think that the risks... and I understand your point. The only thing I wonder is, does it matter... the risks related to the child? Like, I understand that she has the right to choose to carry a baby to term, but does she have the right, and I think this is the argument some of the people that look down on her say, does she have the right to do something that puts her child at greater risk?
Well, and she's choosing not to have any of the genetic modifications made to her child, so she's, you know, running the risk that the baby's going to be born with genetic disorders. Sure. Or have a greater risk for developing heart disease,
right?
You know, and
how very Gattaca of a choice of.
Yeah. Well, that movie's getting harder and harder to find online. By the way, I feel like you and I are the only ones who liked that movie, Jeremy.
Probably
because it's tough to find now. It's not even on Netflix, I don't think.
Huh.
So that's just do you have the right to choose not to genetically perfect your baby?
Well, or even just make a more at-risk pregnancy, right? Like, I don't think you would say, like, look, as the mother, I feel like I shouldn't have to. I choose not to have my child be in a safety seat in the car. Like, no, you would be like, no, that's dangerous. You're stupid. Put in the child's safety seat. Mm-hmm. But pregnancies carry the same potential risks for the child. I mean, not a car wreck, but they carry potential risks that, at least in this story, it makes it seem like have mostly been eliminated. If you don't carry the child.
Right.
Does that change your opinion at all on her right to choose to carry that child?
I think it's a pretty emotional opinion that I have.
That's
like
fair.
It's not based in logic the
totally
way
fair.
that I think we want to. But yeah, like growing a baby is really quite the experience.
And I think So I think the story misses something here too, that if you have the technology to grow babies outside the womb, that you would also have a better technology for supporting women who are going through natural live birth, and they should be able to detect and prevent eclampsia.
Now, this is the stumbling block that I came into when I was thinking through this, is she took an unnecessary risk because society was no longer prepared to handle something as dangerous as a natural pregnancy.
And so is, but
and
I
the
suppose...
doctor should have made her aware of that too.
Right.
Yes, natural pregnancy is the way it was done for however many millennia before we figured out how to do it this way. So your body should know how to do it. But what you have to understand is our hospitals are no longer equipped for natural childbirth.
There was the line in there, one of the nurses said, "Have you ever seen a pregnant woman?" She's like, "Not since nursing school."
Right.
Like they didn't even really know. Right. They didn't even really know what to do.
Right. They didn't know what drugs were dangerous for her. I mean, they didn't know how to treat eclampsia.
Yeah.
They didn't know. Her doctor didn't recognize preeclampsia.
So you know what eclampsia is? I just wasn't sure if that was like a made up disease or not.
No, that's real. And it's one of the things that they test you for every single visit, every single checkup. They test the proteins in the urine to see if you might be getting preeclampsia, and then they treat it at that point. They recognize it before it turns into eclampsia. I think once that happens, it's too late.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so in this story, this has gone well beyond anybody, normally carrying children. So it is very rare.
Yeah.
Right.
If that part of it...
If they can't even test for
made
preeclampsia.
Beth's decision feel wrong.
Yeah.
Because... And she's almost the kind of character that there's no talking sense to. So I don't know if it would have mattered if her doctor had told her that natural pregnancy is now even riskier than it was in the 20th century. We're taking it all the way back to the Renaissance.
1900s,
Yeah.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
Or before.
We have no way of...
I mean, I think for someone who wants to have that experience, I think what they would say is, life is risk. And this is a very valuable aspect of being a human. And therefore, it's a reasonable risk to have that human experience. That sounds like what Beth's answer would be to me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like I said, it's a purely emotional response, but I can see her point of view. I can see why she would want to do it. Even though I hated being pregnant, I can see why she would want to do it. I would not make that choice, though. I would probably have my baby in a farm.
Yeah, no, fair. I think a lot of women would, right? Like, I don't think you're unique in that. I think...
Well, I also wonder if, you get the same hormonal response. Like, there's a lot of hormones with having a newborn baby that...
make you bond to it?
That make you bond, but you would have to ask adoptive parents how they feel about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that they would have their own stories about
I don't think
how they feel about this.
I don't think any adoptive parent would say, I love my kid less because I didn't give birth to him. Like, that seems absurd.
Yeah, it does seem absurd. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different perspectives to different types of parents, and the way in which people become parents that would color the way that they see this story and Beth's decisions.
That's interesting.
There's definitely more than one way to become a parent.
Yeah. What if... One of the things I thought about when I read this is, are there things that we have medicined out that a person would say, and we've had this conversation in other ones, right? Where it's like, we've medicined out this problem of being a biological being. Why would you want to do it? And I think we did one with sleep, like a couple of months ago.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And it's like, look, you're right. I get some special experience by going to the bathroom, but you know what? I don't need that aspect of being human. Like I don't need. I can look at my phone without sitting on the toilet. Like I don't need a special invitation to look at my phone. And so I do wonder if we sort of continue on this spectrum of this is a biological function that is not helpful, so we get rid of it. This is a biological function that is inert, but a time waster. To this is a biological function that we can just do better, right? That's perfectly fine, but we can do it better now.
Right. Well, and it can be argued that's the role of medicine anyways. Not individual medicine, but
in general, right? It's like
in general,
to take out your appendix.
Right. And, I've read things that talked about because of advances in medicine, we've effectively frozen human evolution.
Yeah.
Because child mortality has dropped so much that, we can almost every baby can make it through pregnancy, every baby and mother.
Right.
And so people aren't dying because of this. So things that would make pregnancies difficult and end in death, we're compensating for them.
Yeah. I have a whole tangent on how I think we've ruined evolution. But I feel like I can't say it without sounding like a eugenist, which I'm not. I'm not saying that we should do anything different. I'm just saying that my vision is bad enough. I'd have been lion food a long time ago. But now I'm gonna have
exactly the
but
same
now
thing.
but now I'm gonna have, if I ever had kids, I'd have kids that were whose vision was 22,000. I think I had to wear -7 contact lenses before I got LASIK.
Oof.
I know. They were the thickness of glass, but they were contact lenses.
Goodness.
I know.
Colby.
And my dad's the same way. He's same thing.
I thought my eyesight was bad.
No, Colby's
mine was if I had reached for my glasses in the morning and I knocked them off the bed, I looked like Velma from Scooby-Doo, on my hands and knees, moving around with my hands trying to find them. Because if I held out my hand, I couldn't count the number of fingers on the end of my own arm. I would be lion food, and so I feel it'd be like, where'd everybody go? What's that sound? And then I'd be dead, right? That would be it. Yeah. And yet, so I feel like there's a whole bunch of biological things that we sort of medicined out. I don't know. So are we all in agreement on the gender assignment? Then we're cool with.
Yeah.
But it is technically an unnecessary medical procedure, to be fair.
In that sense. Right. In one sense, it's an unnecessary procedure.
Hi, this is Colby, and you are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. But you already knew that, didn't you? If you'd like to support what we do at After Dinner Conversation, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/After Dinner Conversation. That's right, for as little as $5 a month, you can support thoughtful conversations like the one you're listening to. And as an added incentive for being a Patreon supporter, you'll get early access to new short stories and ad-free podcasts, meaning you'll never have to listen to this blurb again. At higher levels of support, you'll be able to vote on which short stories become podcast discussions. And you'll even be able to submit questions for us to discuss during these podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being the kind of person that supports thoughtful discussion.
In that sense. Right. In one sense, it's an unnecessary procedure, but can she have a...
But mental health is just as important as physical health.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the mistakes that our society makes in making decisions like this for people or judging people in their decisions...
the difference between physical health and mental health.
...is ignoring the importance of somebody's mental health, their emotional well-being. And if Sandy is not emotionally well because because her body isn't the way she feels it should be, shouldn't she be allowed to fix that so that she can be whole?
Yeah.
Yes.
Emotionally and physically?
All right, I'm going to tread lightly on something I just struggle with. I'm going to tread lightly on this. As a person who was born with male biology, who is an effeminate but heterosexual dude mostly, I believe in the Kinsey scale. I'm not ashamed. I struggle with gender identity, and I respect people's rights to argue it, and I respect it from a sort of libertarian standpoint of not my body, not my my choice.
Your body, your choice.
Yeah, I understand from a libertarian standpoint, you're right, your body, your choice. But from a logical standpoint, I struggle with it. Maybe that's why I had a little bit of pause on this one, because I have the same pause when, like, okay, so let's say that I was born with male biology, and I'm like, look, I feel like a woman inside. Cool, like dress like a woman. I don't care. It's not do whatever you want. Like I want to date other women. Okay, cool. Be a dude that dresses like a woman that dates women. I don't care. Like it's your business. It's none of my business who you date any more than like what kind of underwear you wear. But then when somebody says, and I want to get surgeries to make it match, again, the sort of libertarian in me would be like, not my body, like your body, your choice. But that doesn't mean I necessarily understand it. And I say this having dated someone who had a gender reassignment. Been in a relationship for a while with someone who had a gender reassignment. So, and even then I was like, look, you look like a woman to me. It's cool by me. But I didn't exactly understand it. I don't know. And I understand it less when you talk about the amount of pain and risk that's involved in this story.
I think the trick there, Colby, is to be open-minded without judgment. If you don't really understand it or identify with it, that's okay, because it's not really yours to have to understand.
Right, which is exactly the role I take, right? Like,
right, yeah.
It's your body, it's your choice. I don't have to understand it to respect it.
Right.
But I don't understand it. That's me just being maybe older than a millennial now. But I've never been in that situation. Maybe that's why I don't understand it.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is I understand why the character in the story would basically say, like, I'd prefer you didn't do this. I can still love you as asexual. We can still be in a committed relationship. It doesn't matter to me that you're not biologically a woman. There's lots of other fun stuff we can do together.
But he loves her so much that he's willing to let her take the risk that she wants to take.
Right.
And he's willing to support her.
And I wouldn't even say let her take the risk because it's not his choice, right? But
right, no.
But
yeah.
But
my phrasing is wrong,
yeah,
but he didn't make any threats or issue any ultimatums.
Right. He didn't say if you do this, like we're over. Right. But I understand why it would scare him, right? I understand.
Right. You understand his worry because he just went through this. Somebody making the same choice.
Right.
And similar choice, not the same choice. But
right. And one that you might see as an unnecessary choice from his perspective.
Right. Based on what Beth's decision were. This was an unnecessary choice.
Right.
Again, her body, her choice, but...
Right.
Do you think that this story relates to the controversy surrounding vaccines?
It was written before that, but...
Well, the anti-vax thing has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question.
So if we're arguing that we should, allow... Oh, yeah, the choice of having your own baby, nature should take its course. I don't know. I think
both of these decisions in the story are about individual well-being, where when you talk about vaccines, you're talking about societal well-being.
Yeah, but in the case of the pregnancy, there is another child that was at risk.
Still not society. I mean, broadly, societal well-being means, yes, we want most people to have external pregnancies. Because there is so much risk associated with it, and we can do all these things.
Yeah, you can get on all kinds of wild tangents with that.
Yeah.
Like...
and there is a relationship to that, too, with vaccines. Because, in a broad sense, it's societal well-being. One person could still make the choice, I don't want to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
But
it affects other people.
It affects other people.
It's like if seatbelts
in a larger sense.
The example I used in an argument before was it would be like if seatbelts only worked, 80% of the people wore them. Like unless 80% of the people wore seatbelts, none of them would work. Like then you'd have an argument to be made about like, hey, I'm pretty mad that you won't wear a seatbelt.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What about the neo?
I was just thinking about the way that we judge people who are anti-vax.
Harshly?
Because I know I'm pretty harsh about it.
Yeah.
So this story made me think about that.
Yeah.
And the lady judging her in the elevator.
I was pretty judgy about the neo shakers.
As well, that decision definitely is a problematic decision.
Very strange.
So how do you view, because this is where I struggle with because sometimes you catch yourself where you have one train of thought, you have another train of thought, and then you put them next to each other and you're like, shoot, I can't have both of these trains of thought.
Absolutely.
How do you judge it? The neo-shakers who decided to genetically engineer to have their daughter is asexual, I'm like, that's not your choice, dude. You don't get to make that choice about your daughter.
Yeah.
But I was with you, Sarah. I agreed that the mom could make the choice about the pregnancy, even though it had the potential to affect the child. And I don't know if that's just tradition or like why I viewed them differently.
Right, because you effectively are making similar choices. But you don't know. Like, choosing to make your child asexual is, a definite choice that will affect your child's future. A natural pregnancy that may result in heart disease, it's a may.
Sure. But wouldn't they argue
Again,
that it
80%, there's
Sure.
80-90% chance you'll have a healthy baby.
Don't forget.
Right, go ahead.
Oh, and don't forget the religious aspect to the decision to have an asexual child.
Like that's a pretty intense application of a religious principle. And it's real extreme. Beth's decision wasn't religiously
I'm just saying, I'm missing part of my penis.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
I feel
that
like
went
that
sideways.
I feel like that was a pretty extreme application of someone's religious preference as well upon me.
It's not always religious.
But we're also coming from the perspective that we're grown people who are comfortable with our sexual orientations.
Sure.
And, have a rich life as far as that is concerned. Like, I identify strongly as a woman and I enjoy being a woman. Like, It's great for me. So looking at somebody who was born asexual and their parents imposed that upon them under some sort of religious purity principle feels very upsetting. And I could totally see Sandy being upset about that. Like, that's pretty... But what kind of shame and awfulness must her parents have felt regarding their own identities to want to impose that on their child, to want to create this being that is pure and to be confused about why the child isn't grateful?
Right. Sure. But I'm just going to argue the other side of it just for the sake of arguing the other side of it. Religious beliefs run very deep. And from their perspective, that sexual desire is one of the main bases of sin, right? And so while to all of us, we're like, yeah, that's pretty stupid. To them, they are giving her the greatest gift they could give her, which is a lesser ability to sin. Like, why would you not do it? I think was the perspective they would take.
And that's what I'm saying. There's some pretty intense religious motivations there that I think they actually go kind of beyond most religious motivations and people. Like,
it's more than a baptism.
Society. This is more than a baptism and a confirmation. This is a lot. And it's kind of like people who deny their children blood transfusions because of religious principles. You're going to lose your child, but you've saved them.
Yeah.
To me, that's really hard to accept.
This goes back to the pneumodectomy one, too, now that I think about it. Mm-hmm. The not having the appendix out because that's where your soul was and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. We had this same conversation then about
religious principles.
Right.
Yeah.
So those end up being the corner of some of these these ethical quandaries.
Yeah. Do you think in the case of Bob that he should have, I want to say argued, but at least made his personal opinions felt stronger to his wife about her carrying the baby? Because he seemed pretty...
He felt pretty bad about not being stronger. I suppose he could have had a stronger conversation, but I think he had just as much information as she had, and I think that the medical system failed them both in a lot of ways. And had they had really all the information, then maybe they would have made a different choice. Or maybe not, but at least they would have known fully the risks that they were going into.
Do you think he has the right?
I don't think that he. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you think he had the right to say this is my baby too? Like, I would prefer...
No. I don't know. That's her body that's growing.
It's her body, but it's their baby.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I know the sort of standard party line is defer to the woman, but on things related to abortion or things related to other things, and I get that, but it is in a perfect world, it's a two-parenting job, right? And it's both parents' child.
They both have a stake,
right,
in the child. Mm-hmm. They both bear responsibility for the child.
Yeah, he's going to spend the rest of his life being a single parent.
She probably wouldn't be with a guy who wouldn't allow her to make that choice.
Yeah.
Beth would have found a man who would have been supportive.
Yeah. I think you wait more than 3 dates to bring this up. I got to be honest. This is not third date. Like, hey, by the way, I've had a couple bouts of chlamydia and I want to have a natural childbirth. You wait further. You're deeper into the relationship before you bring those up.
Yikes, Colby.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
I feel like a lot of times on these conversations I say yikes, Colby. I'm just gonna get like a t-shirt.
Jeremy.
Yikes, Colby.
Right.
Jeremy's felt that way about me for 25 years.
I just shake my head at this point.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, whatever. Let him get it out. Let him get it on his chest. Yeah.
So I don't think he necessarily... Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure which question we're answering. I got totally distracted by the third date conversation.
I'll just say for me, I feel like he would have been spared some of the guilt that he might feel now had he been more honest about his concerns and they had talked more about it. Because he went with the your body, your choice conversation with her mostly. When I feel like if he had said it's your body, but it's our choice, and of course I'll support you, and we'll, I just feel like if he had done it better, he wouldn't have so much guilt about it, even if they'd come to the same conclusion together.
If he'd have been doing his own research,
yeah,
right, and
or just I just feel like it's a joint decision. That's all, but
and voicing his concerns, because he clearly had concerns through the story.
Yes.
Or it's presented that he's concerned about the doctor. He's concerned about these things, but not bringing them up.
Yeah. And I thought that the story, did a really good job of showing how the doctor that knew how to do a natural pregnancy was like an older doctor. He used real books. They had dust on him. He was like an old school kind of guy,
but he didn't recognize preeclampsia.
Right.
I'm pretty mad at that doctor.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you about that. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd never even heard of preeclampsia, but then again, I've never had a child. So
yeah, it's not something you would know about unless you needed. It's a need to know kind of thing, for sure.
Anything
or
else?
Unless you watched Downton Abbey.
Oh
God!
I definitely don't.
This is not okay.
It sounds. No, Downton Abbey just seems to me too much like it's going to be like any Jane Austen book, and I steer clear of anything that seems like it might be like a Jane Austen book.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's like
Colby's special relationship with Jane Austen.
There's two things. I've only got a few triggers. Like I'm cool with spiders. I'm cool with snakes. I'm cool with scorpions. I don't like peanut butter. I don't like heights. And I don't like Jane Austen. Those are my only 3 things. Everything else, I'm totally cool with. It's all about live and let live.
But you climb the rock wall, right? You go to the rock gym.
I do, but I don't look down. I close my eyes
maybe
the whole time.
We can find a close your eyes kind of equivalent to Jane Austen there. Get you to tolerate it just enough to watch Downton Abbey.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This is not good. It's a failing on my part, but it's a failing I'm sticking with.
That's okay.
Anything else we've missed that when you guys read this, you were like, oh, I want to talk about that, or... I always kind of like give an open space just in case there's something we didn't cover.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the questions.
I think we got to most of them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sarah, since you're our only woman on this show, is there anything we're missing here that we're like being insensitive guys about or forgetting?
Oh, about this story?
Yes, about this. About,
not in general.
About this story. It's not. Let me be clear. I'm not opening it up to all things that we're insensitive about. I can't speak for Jeremy, but I know I am a work in progress,
Oh.
and I am not done.
No, this is a tough story. I was
Okay.
really sad when
Yeah.
Beth died. That made me cry a little bit, in all honesty. So shout out to the author for making me cry. It's not super hard to do that
Yeah,
because I'm
too. Sorry.
ridiculously emotional when it comes to sad things.
Yeah.
Like Downton Abbey made me cry for 3 days, I think.
Oh my
after
gosh.
A couple of these. Yeah, this is an emotional story for sure.
You know, the part of the story that got me is when they get her to the hospital and the nurses all don't know, and the doctors all don't know what to do. And I'm just like, that was the part where I was like, what kind of freaking hospital is this? Like,
Right.
I get that this hasn't been done and you may have gone 20 years and never seen it, but like,
But the author's purpose in making it like that was that landed with me.
oh yeah, no, I understood why. It was just, that's one part that like made me mad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, I was pretty mad at the doctor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right. On that happy note, you've been listening to After Dinner Conversation. Short stories for long discussions, often sad, like this one, but hopefully not always sad. AfterDinnerConversation.com, Patreon, get the magazine, get the books on Amazon, blah, 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 blah. Sarah, thank you for your insight on this one and being candid. And Jeremy, thank you for always being a rock star and putting up with my stupid stuff. Putting up with my stupid.
Yikes, Colby.
Yeah, I can't. Yikes, Colby. That's going to show up on a shirt at your house before too long. Yikes, Colby. You know, I heard someone say, I don't know if it was Jeremy or someone else, maybe it was you that told me that someone described, like before they met me, they described me to them, and they're like, "You're going to meet Colby. He's a dick, but he's like nice." And I was like, "No, that's about right.
I don't think that was
fair.
me, but
That's
that's a
fair.
good
Something
story.
like that.
He's nice, but he's a dick." I was like, "No, fair." All right, hey, I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, Colby.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. You know, the vast majority of people haven't liked and subscribed, which means maybe it shows up in your algorithm, maybe it doesn't. So don't leave that to chance. Just go ahead and hit that button, and we'd sure appreciate that. And that way we can keep doing what we're doing, and you're not left to the whims of some algorithm. Thanks.